Venus in Vedic astrology represents attraction, not just romance, attraction itself. It shows what we value, what we enjoy, and what draws us toward pleasure, harmony, and connection. Venus governs love, relationships, beauty, comfort, and refinement. Without Venus, life becomes dry and purely functional. Many people think Venus is only about romance. In reality, Venus is about what makes life feel worth living. It governs enjoyment, taste, art, and emotional satisfaction. A strong Venus does not mean constant pleasure. It means the ability to experience pleasure without excess or dependency. Venus becomes visible in how we relate to others. It shows how we express affection, how we receive love, and what we expect from relationships. Unlike Mars, which pursues, Venus attracts. It does not chase, it draws. In Vedic astrology, Venus represents Shukra, the principle of harmony and refinement. Shukra governs balance, grace, and the enjoyment of material life. It teaches that pleasure is not opposed to spirituality. It becomes a problem only when attachment replaces awareness. Venus is a benefic planet, but that does not mean it is always easy. Excess Venus creates indulgence, dependency, and avoidance of discomfort. Weak Venus creates dissatisfaction, lack of joy, and difficulty receiving love. Venus governs values. What we value determines how we choose partners, careers, lifestyles, and even beliefs. When Venus is balanced, values are clear and aligned. When imbalanced, people chase what does not truly satisfy them. Venus also governs self-worth. Self-worth is not confidence. It is the sense of deserving love, comfort, and happiness. When Venus is weak, people may accept less than they deserve, when excessive entitlement may appear. In relationships, Venus shows how harmony is maintained. It governs compromise, empathy, and emotional give and take. Strong Venus allows disagreements without destroying connection. Weak Venus turns conflict into withdrawal or people-pleasing. Venus also governs beauty and aesthetics. This includes art, music, fashion, design, and physical appearance. But beauty here is not superficial. It is about proportion, balance, and sensory pleasure. Unlike Jupiter, which seeks meaning, Venus seeks enjoyment. Jupiter asks, what is right? Venus asks, what feels good? A healthy life requires both. Pleasure without meaning becomes empty. Meaning without pleasure becomes harsh. Venus plays a major role in financial comfort. It governs luxury, lifestyle, and the enjoyment of material resources. A strong Venus often brings comfort and refinement. An imbalanced Venus can create overspending or dependency on luxury. In Hindu philosophy, Shukra is also associated with knowledge of preservation and renewal. He represents the ability to sustain life through balance rather than force. This is why Venus energy is cooling, calming, and harmonizing. Venus also governs creativity. Creativity is not productivity, it is expression. Venus shows how ideas are shaped into something pleasing and meaningful. From a psychological perspective, Venus governs attachment patterns. It shows how people bond, cling, withdraw, or compromise. Balanced Venus allows closeness without loss of self. Imbalanced Venus creates fear of loss or fear of intimacy. Venus is strongly connected to pleasure in the body. Taste, touch, scent, and sensory enjoyment fall under Venus. When Venus is healthy, pleasure is enjoyed mindfully. When unhealthy, pleasure becomes escapism. Venus also governs diplomacy. It allows people to navigate differences without creating conflict. Strong Venus softens sharp edges. Weak Venus creates social discomfort or avoidance. In professional life, Venus supports careers related to beauty, art, fashion, hospitality, design, counseling, and relationship-based roles. Success here depends on emotional intelligence as much as skill. Venus periods often bring focus to relationships, pleasure, and values. Life asks what truly brings satisfaction. Avoiding this question creates restlessness. Answering it honestly brings harmony. It is important to assess Venus from both the Lagna chart and the moon chart. The Lagna shows how love and attraction are expressed outwardly. The moon chart shows emotional needs in relationships. Only by viewing both can relationship patterns be fully understood. A strong Venus in either chart supports emotional satisfaction. Weakness in both can create longing without fulfillment. This is why some people experience love repeatedly but rarely feel content. Ultimately, Venus teaches one central lesson. Pleasure must be balanced with awareness. Connection must not erase individuality. When Venus is integrated, life feels harmonious rather than excessive or empty. Venus expresses itself most clearly through specific houses in a birth chart. These houses show where attraction, harmony, pleasure, and relational themes become dominant life lessons. Understanding these placements brings far more clarity than analyzing Venus in isolation. When Venus is placed in the first house, attraction becomes part of identity. These individuals often appear pleasant, approachable, or aesthetically refined. They value harmony in how they present themselves to the world. If Venus is balanced here, charm feels natural. If imbalanced, self-worth may depend too heavily on approval or appearance. The second house connects Venus to values, speech, and material comfort. Pleasure is closely tied to financial security and lifestyle. Speech may be soft, persuasive, or soothing. A strong Venus here supports wealth through tasteful choices. An imbalanced Venus may lead to indulgence or overspending. Venus in the fourth house brings a deep desire for emotional and domestic comfort. Home must feel peaceful and aesthetically pleasing. Emotional security depends on harmony in personal space. This placement supports interior design, hospitality, and emotional caregiving. When disturbed, dissatisfaction within the home becomes prominent. The fifth house is one of Venus's most expressive placements. Romance, creativity, joy, and pleasure are central life themes. There is a natural desire to express love openly. When balanced, this creates joyful self-expression. When excessive attention-seeking or romantic dependency may appear. Venus in the seventh house strongly influences relationships and partnerships. Connection with others becomes essential for emotional fulfillment. There is a strong desire for harmony, companionship, and mutual appreciation. Balanced Venus supports healthy partnerships. Imbalanced Venus may lead to compromise at the cost of self-respect. The ninth house connects Venus to beliefs, philosophy, and higher values. Love becomes idealistic. There may be attraction to wisdom, culture, or spiritual traditions. This placement supports teaching, counseling, and artistic expression rooted in meaning. Disillusionment can occur when ideals are unrealistic. Venus in the 10th house brings charm and diplomacy into career and public life. Professional success often comes through relationships, collaboration, or public appeal. There may be recognition for aesthetic or interpersonal skills. If Venus is weak here, professional satisfaction may feel empty despite success. The 11th house allows Venus to express through friendships and social networks. Pleasure is found through shared interests and group harmony. Gains often come through people rather than effort alone. Imbalance may create dependency on social validation. Balance creates mutually supportive connections. Venus in the 12th house gives a subtle and inward expression of pleasure. Enjoyment may come through solitude, spirituality, or private relationships. There is sensitivity to beauty beyond the material world. When misunderstood, this placement can lead to secret attachments or escapism. When integrated, it creates compassion and refined inner peace. It is essential to evaluate Venus from both the Lagna chart and the moon chart. The Lagna shows how love and attraction are expressed outwardly. The moon chart reveals emotional needs and relationship security. Ignoring either chart gives an incomplete picture of relational patterns. A strong Venus in the moon chart often indicates emotional satisfaction in relationships. A strong Venus only in the Lagna may bring relationships that look good externally but feel lacking internally. This distinction explains why some relationships appear ideal but feel unfulfilling. Venus also governs how pleasure is regulated. Healthy Venus allows enjoyment without guilt or excess. Imbalanced Venus swings between indulgence and deprivation. Moderation strengthens Venus more than denial or overindulgence. From a spiritual perspective, Venus teaches the art of enjoyment without attachment. The Upanishads remind us that pleasure becomes suffering when clung to unconsciously. Venus does not ask us to reject pleasure. It asks us to experience it with awareness. In practical life, Venus strengthens through refinement. Refinement of taste, refinement of relationships, refinement of values. Simplifying pleasures often strengthens Venus more than adding excess. Venus also governs reconciliation. It allows repair after conflict through empathy and understanding. Strong Venus can soften even difficult situations. Weak Venus avoids conflict rather than resolving it. Ultimately, Venus teaches one essential lesson. Harmony begins with self-worth. When self-worth is stable, relationships become balanced. When self-worth is unstable, attraction becomes compensation. If this session has helped you understand how Venus shapes love, pleasure, values, and relationships in your life, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you're enjoying this journey through Vedic astrology, make sure you're subscribed. Understanding life through the lens of Vedic astrology.